Hello, race fans. Welcome to another episode of Short Track Guys Podcast, brought to you by ShortTrackExclusives.com. I'm your host, Thomas Faddis, alongside two other short track guys in the studio tonight, Jim Pokrant, driver of the 07 CankWhipFishing.com sportsman and 2021 sportsman champion here locally at Five Flag Speedway in Pensacola, Florida, and Ted Baber of Ted Baber Video Productions, also locally here at Five Flag Speedway in Pensacola, Florida. What's up, guys?
Good evening, sir.
How you doing tonight?
Oh, man, we're doing good. And we've got some catching up to do from the last episode. We got to go all the way out to California at Irmondale and catch up on one of our other drivers that we've mentioned, I don't know, maybe 100 times, of Derek Thorne taking his second All-Star win down there.
Wow. Being a thorn in their side. Get it? Man, he's the baddest.
Yeah.
Out there at Irwindale, son, nobody can touch him. And he comes to Pensacola, a Derby win is in his future.
So close. I mean, just 5 laps to go, he's just boink.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you get some kid behind you that's hungrier than you are. You gotta.
Yeah, and I watched some of that replay too, and there were some names out there that we've mentioned before that really didn't. I mean, kind of surprised me being out there was Chris Davidson and from Texas, and some of these other guys, Jake Finch and Blaine Roca.
People we're familiar with.
Yeah. Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst is
Herbst brothers.
Yeah, he's and Jeremy Doss. He's come over here to run the Derby and some of the Southern Super Series races, and wow, it was pretty interesting, but not surprising. Derek Thorne comes away with his second All-Star win, so took home the money.
Nah, he's one of the best, man. And the list of cars that went to that race, you can't beat it. And you know as well as I do, our boy Bubba Pollard went out there and won it 2 years in a row, which is no small feat going that far and winning. And Derek Thorne's going to come and run some Southern All-Stars races, or Southern Super Series, races with us this year at Five Flags. So that's going to be pretty cool to have him run all over the country. I think he's training himself to maybe do something bigger.
Like he needs any practice out here at Five Flags.
That's true. That's true. But I mean, he's never run in that track when it's really, really hot and slick, like in the middle of summer. So it's going to be a different experience. Right. It's not going to be the same setup. That's why, racetracks, some of them you can run a similar setup, but with all this bump stop and all the stuff that they run now, it's got to be perfect. So if the track's a little greasy, you got to adjust on it. You can't just, like the old days, throw the same set of springs in for the same racetrack and go, and the driver makes a difference. And it's good to see Derek Thorne. Congratulations, dude. That was awesome.
Yeah, he wins his second, and we've got Owen Riddle and Logan Bearden, Cale Kankey, and Jeremy Doss, obviously top 5. But, man, the field was stacked, and I don't think Derek Thorne was up front really to begin with, too. I think he really had to work through the field to get up there. And once he did, I don't think anybody had anything for him.
Nah, dude's bad to the bone, man. You go to any racetrack, he's going to be there. He's going to be tough. It's going to be fun to watch him and Bubba go head to head in a Blizzard Series race. So that's going to be a good thing later this summer. Derek Thorne's an excellent driver, a wheel man, and he's going to get it done.
Yeah, we're going to keep up with them. They're going to, some of that field's going to make its way over to this side of the country and run some of these big races. There's some news coming out with the SRL. I think they're splitting up at the Spears Tour. I'm not sure if it's really together. I think there's the West Tour and then maybe an East Tour, like the old K&N series used to be East and West, and now it is the Arca Menards East and West, which we've got actually the Arca Menards East Series coming in March. I think, here at Five Flag Speedway for another race, and that's always going to be a doozy. And I think we've got some locals there too. I think the Outlaws are that night, right?
Exactly. We run the regular season starts for Five Flags on Friday night, which will be Outlaw, Truck, Sportsman, and Pure Stock. And then, the Outlaws won't be there. It'll be Truck, Sportsman, Pure Stock, and that's it. And then on Saturday night will be the Outlaws. They'll run with the ARCA cars. And I think the Vors Compact Touring Series is going to be here Saturday night also. Right. So
those guys are so entertaining. That racing's great.
It sounds like a batch of mad hornets out there, but they put on a heck of a show last time they were here. So that's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah. I loved that one because, like you said, they sounded angry. And there was a handful that were just, slightly more equal, but it was entertaining to watch. You got to work your way through the field as well. You got to deal with traffic. So That's also a part of the game.
Well, the guy that ended up winning, one guy was dominating, he broke, and then the guy who was running second got the lead, and they battled back and forth, and then he had a big lead, and then he broke. So I think that the guy running third ended up winning the race, but great show.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and it's really just kicking off too, and we've gone over this for, I don't know, the last 4 or 5 episodes, if not more than that, but there's really just a short turnaround, and there's really no break like there is in the big series. You have 2 or 3 months where you're doing testing and this and that, but it's really not, a turnaround of 2 or 3 weeks, and you go through the holidays, it's like bam, bam, eat turkey, open presents, and then right back in the race car.
Right.
And short track racing seems to be just that.
Oh, yeah.
You just, it's kind of being rude about eating and leaving, but that's what they do. And we're right back into it, and we're, 6 weeks into the new year?
Right.
And we're already 2 or 3 races into this big season in short track, and I mean, it's nonstop even for us.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's 6 weeks away from my season opener, and my car's sitting on jack stands. Finally got it off the jig, but started bolting suspension to it, and we got a little bit more to do. I'm waiting on my motor to come in, and what really sucks is being able to buy headers. You can't buy them. Everybody's behind. I'm hoping I'll get my header time enough to put the motor in and be ready to go race, because it's going to be tight, because everything's so tight. Because I can say this now, let's go, Brandon. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you looking out for the little guy. That's all I'm going to say about that, because that's why everything's so screwed up. But we'll make it. And I don't know if the car's going to be pretty or not, but it'll be on the racetrack.
Doesn't have to be pretty to be fast.
No.
Yeah, speaking of that, do you expect the racing fuel cost to go up?
Well, I run avgas, so it kind of goes up and down with regular gasoline. And last time I bought some was $4.50 a gallon. Now, racing fuel is about $12 a gallon.
Right.
Which I have, I think, 10 gallons for free from Five Flags, but I don't like running it in my motor because it's not as obtainable to horsepower as the aviation fuel. So I'll probably sell that or give it away to somebody and let them have it.
So the aviation fuel is what you're referring to as avgas?
Yes,
right?
aviation fuel. Yeah, avgas. Yeah, it's 101 low lead. It's a pretty good fuel for a race motor, and a lot of dirt guys run it.
Right.
And they don't want me to tell you that, but a lot of dirt guys run it.
Yeah.
So.
And it's okay to run that.
Yeah, it's better for the motor. When you run a lot of octane.
Well, as far as the rules go.
Yeah, it's legal.
Okay.
It's legal. I mean, people have been trying additives. In fact, our buddy Ben got busted at the Derby for trying some additives in his fuel, and Ricky made him run it out. But there's no reason to. You can run aviation fuel. It's 101 low lead. It's good for a low compression motor like ours. I think it makes more horsepower, my opinion, but I can feel a difference when I have to run the 110 versus the 101. So I'll stick with what I know.
Okay, outside of the fuel that you're putting in with your application, for the other guys that are running that
110.
Sunoco 110, do you see that those prices would go up?
Oh, they're going to go up. They always do. It's probably right now 12, maybe 12.50 before the season starts. That's insane.
That's $12.50 a gallon for everybody that's listening.
yes.
It's $12.50 a gallon for race fuel at the racetrack.
Yep, it's $4.50 a gallon for avgas. So what do you think I'm going to do as a budget racer with no money?
Yeah.
I'm going to buy the cheaper stuff. Like my old fuel cell, when I took it out of the car, I drained the 10 gallons into 2 5-gallon cans. I got 10 gallons of fuel sitting there waiting when I get the car put together.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, if it's acceptable and it's legal, that's
it is.
really a no-brainer.
Right.
Well, I'm waiting for the track to require us to run their gas, because I've seen they did it to us once before. We
Yes,
had
correct.
to buy 5 gallons of their gas, and I mean, dude, that as a low budget racer, it blows my budget out of the water. It's bad enough we went to a different tire. It's going to cost me another $80 to go race every race I go to. Mm-hmm. Don't lower the cost. Let's raise the cost. I mean, they went to a 9-inch Ford rule rear end, the rear differential. Well, good Lord, a housing is $1,000. I'm gonna run what I got, because I run up
Control
front
our
with
costs, right?
it. Yeah, trying to keep things down. Now, if somebody out there's got a 9-inch Ford rear end with metric bolt-ons, and they want to sponsor an old boy, I'd be willing to take one or buy one cheap. Anyway, we'll be ready. That's all that matters.
Yep. I'm sure you will be, and go back to congratulating Derek Thorne on his second All-Star Showdown at Irwindale this past weekend, and Look for big things to come out of him and that whole California stable and really the whole West Coast super late models. Those guys they're going to follow suit and they're, loading up the van and their haulers and coming over and, just kind of fun. Like we'd mentioned before in those episodes that, they're saying, well, Derek comes over here and yeah, it takes funding to do all that. And I know those guys are just as good, if not better than some of the guys over here on the East Coast. So we're going to keep up with that and going to move on to a little bit of a dirt action before we come up with some races that are coming up here in the next, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
But we go through the Lucas Oil late model dirt series at East Bay Raceway Park just past weekend. And, man, I tell you what, those dirt late models put on a show, don't they?
Oh, God, yes. They're fun to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Especially when they qualify and they got that thing all bowed up and just you never hear them hardly get out of the throttle.
Yeah. Never burp it if they can help it.
Right. No. And we talk about Dennis Erb Jr. I don't think we've mentioned him until now, but we have mentioned the Turbo, Tyler Erb. But Dennis Erb ends a 7-year Lucas Oil Series drought with a win at East Bay. That's pretty impressive.
That's happiness there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I've had long droughts. It feels really good when you cross under that checkered flag and go, thank goodness I hadn't lost my talent yet. So that's cool. Congratulations.
Yeah, Dennis Erb Jr., Hudson O'Neill, Tim McCready, Shane Clanton, and Stormy Scott were the top 5. And I'm just going to throw in some notables that go right down the list of the top 10. It's Ricky Thornton Jr., Devin Moran, Tyler Erb, Brandon Shepard, and Jimmy Owens. I mean, that top 10 right there just doesn't get any better.
If you beat one of the McCreadys, you've done something.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah. T-Mac's pretty bad.
And these guys on dirt, believe it or not, everybody out there is listening, these guys run, if they're running just this series, maybe 20, 25 times.
Right.
But if they run others, some of them get in modified. Some of them run other series, and they may run up to 50 or 60 times a year.
At least.
These cats are busy.
Oh, yeah. They go to, like, the National 100 in Phoenix City. They run Sonoya, Georgia. And a lot of them will go, like Scott Bloomquist. He goes where the money is. If it's a big money race, he's going to be there. If it's $25,000 or more, he's going to be there because – like he jokingly says that he's going to win it because he needs the cabbage. I've heard him say that.
The old Bloomquist, he's a veteran out there. He shows up. It's got money on the line and it's got a field.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely. He comes for the cash.
Yeah. Well, that's a little taste of some of the dirt that we're going to start covering and continue to cover. Some of the bigger dirt races. We've got the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing coming up at New Smyrna and a big super late model race at Citrus County in Florida with Bubba Pollard maybe coming, kind of knocking on the door to make another noise and, take
going
some
for
money
3
home.
in a row.
Yeah, I look forward to that. I think I'm serious. I saw a video. He's going to maybe run 25, 30 races this year. I believe he's in store for like something historic.
Speaking of busy.
Yeah, he said he was wanting to do some bucket list races. He wanted to win some races that were on his bucket list. So that's going to be interesting to see what those are because hell, he's won everything but the Snowball Derby. I mean, he won the Oxford 250. He won the race out in Irwindale. He's won all across America, one up in Canada. So, we're looking forward to that one. It ought to be pretty dadgum sporty. And 3 in a row would be pretty awesome.
It's not impossible for him either. Not difficult.
No, if he can keep Michael Atwell from knocking him out of the way, because Atwell's been driving hard and rough lately. So he's not scared to put a bumper to people. He did it to Rich Bickle. So you think he won't do it to Bubba Pollard. But the problem is when that 26 gets back to him, I hope he's got his belts tight.
Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to be visiting the wall.
Well, it's a new era, for the SRL begins Saturday with the inaugural SRL national race at Citrus County. $15,000 to win. It's a quarter mile, 125 laps. You've got Bubba Pollard, Ty Majeski, Derek Griffith, have all entered for Saturday's race. Bubba Pollard's actually a defending winner of the Full Florida 100 held at that facility with Ty Majeski and Derek Griffith will both be making their first trips to Citrus County this weekend. So, You put the, that old movie, not the old movie, but yeah, I guess it was an old movie. Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
You build it, they will come.
Right.
I'm telling you, you put the money down and put the races together, you will have every single stout driver in the country show up at the doorstep.
You have a purse, you're going to have a field.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing about this SRL taking over the super late model deal is they'll probably have an East Coast and West Coast and probably have a central champion, kind of like the way they used to do the East and West series. They'd come together. Or remember the Hooters Pro Cup series? They used to have the 4 Champions Challenge series where they'd have 4 races to determine the champion.
Yeah.
I'm looking for something like that from this because we need late models, super late models to be on the same playing field so guys can come from the West Coast and race here without major changes. Our guys can go out there without major changes and have a national champion super late model. Yeah, because we know how boring NASCAR is, not terrible it's gotten lately, and it's cookie cutter race cars and the drivers are all, gee, iCar ran well today. I want to thank NASCAR because they're doing such a great job. Even Kyle Busch has turned into that. Sad, we have no controversy. These guys will put on a show. Guys like Bubba, guys like the 51 there, and Derek Griffin and Nassie, and all these guys, they'll put on a show and they'll get out and fight and get the people on their feet. So that's what people want to see. They want old school. They don't want this new school crap. I mean,
homogenized stuff.
Oh God, I'm so sick of it. It's the car, and then certain drivers by the name of Darrell Wallace, they give spots to or let him do what he wants, and then when they need to get him a spot, they throw somebody else out, which they did in that crap out there in California. But anyway, I look for this SRL series to be really, really good. And I hope that Tim gets in on it and we have a national series. That would be something big and would be races we could go to. Include the Oxford 250, include the Snowball Derby, include races like this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Make a national series out of it, separated by East and West, even in North and South if you want to do quarters about it. Right. And then put all the champions in the top 10 in points and put them in a 40 car race somewhere designated for like a $500,000 purse, because we've got guys like Michael House and George Gorham Jr., which we've mentioned a couple of times down at 417, Derek Griffin, Chris Davidson from Texas, Nick Neri we've mentioned before, Bubba Pollard, Dylan Bigley, it's a big name down in South Florida too, Jared Irvin, which has got a long lineage of,
his dad does.
Yeah, I would think Ernie, I think his name is.
Yes, I've heard of him.
Jake Garcia, Dan Fredrickson, Michael Atwell, Colin Allman, Ty Majeski. I mean, these guys, that's just that race. It's incredible how it's starting to come together, and you can pretty much see how you can mold all that together to have a series that would take off Saturdays and Sundays.
You can sense a buildup in the quality and the quantity of the races too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you could use an old race like the World Series of Asphalt to decide the champion.
Right.
That runs 8 weeks in a row. Okay, we're going to run 8 races. The guy with the most points wins the championship.
Right.
I mean, it can be done in different ways, but I think that short track racing needs to not lose sight of the prize. Take care of the fans. Put racing out there that people want to see. Not a bunch of rich kids playing, but real racers like Bubba Pollard, like George Gorham Jr., like the 30 car, the Carbone guy.
Jesse
Dutilly.
Yep.
Guys like that, real racers, real short track guys. Not guys trying to make it to NASCAR, but guys that are going to race short track. Derek Thorne, guys that are going to actually race short track racing and not move on. Put them in the limelight, give them the show, because they are the show.
Right. And if anybody has not been here, like we preached before, this past, what was it, 54th? Snowball Derby?
54th.
54th. Yes. Yeah, Snowball Derby. If you haven't been there and you've seen the pits with these haulers, the haulers that roll in here, you would think that you're at a short track NASCAR race because they've got the rigs painted up. They've got 2 cars in there. They've got the whole crew coming in. They've got the pit boxes that are rolling out, the war wagons, they call them, all the tools and everything. They've got everything top notch. And they're not open trailers anymore.
No.
They used to be, and there was just as good talent back then. I'm not knocking that at all. But it just goes to show you that when you walk into the pits and you look at every one of those haulers in there, pros and supers, And some of the modifieds too. They've got nice, expensive haulers.
I agree.
There's a lot of money going into this stuff.
There is, but here's something else you can do for short track racing. And from a guy like me who's a low budget street stock racer, put on big races for the street stock guys.
Yep.
Build a set of rules that these series can come together and we can race without spending $1 million freaking dollars. And open trailers and guys with pickup trucks can show up and race and put on good shows for the fans also. Because there's people at Snowball Derby, there's a lot of those teams, they actually stay at the track to watch guys like me race.
Right.
So promote the street stocks, the pure stocks, the lower divisions. If you'll promote them and push them, they'll bring crowds too, because the racing is just as good. That's just a short track guy's opinion.
And the technical inspection becomes a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. Well,
because the money.
You can make cars where they're good enough to where you can work on them and tech them without having to tear everybody down every single week. But if you get a suspicion somebody's doing something, that's just like with a 602 crate motor, the crate motors we run. The track, every racetrack should have one for the lower classes, or 2 or 3 sitting around. And when you think that Ted's cheating on his motor, we go, give me your motor, take this one.
Right.
Okay? You get your carburetor and all your other stuff, but we're going to take this one down, we're going to take it apart. And if we find it's illegal, guess what? You lose all your points for this season, and you get your motor back, but you better get it fixed and done right. But meanwhile, while we're doing this, you can run this other motor. You know what I'm saying? It's just things like that can be done differently.
And don't you have to pay a fine to come back?
I wouldn't do so much a fine, because that does hurt the guys. Now, soak tires and a fine, I agree with. When it comes to a motor, no. Get your motor fixed. We're going to test it and make sure it's legal. Then you can come back and race. And if you get caught a second time, you're suspended for the rest of the season. So, I mean, there's other ways of doing this. But, I mean, my point is, push the little guys. Stop worrying about the late models so much. They're going to come to town. They're going to bring a show. But a national street stock series would be awesome, for the little guy.
In this area.
Yes.
Well, you could do that. You could run Montgomery, Pensacola, Mobile, and Opp, and then have once a month we go to their track. We run 2 nights at ours. We have a regular track champion, and then we have an overall champion.
Right.
That would be cool.
Something similar to the Kimmel series.
Yeah, something similar.
The ARCA, the ARCA Midwest.
But we're not running Bristol or
IMCA
Rockingham
street stock on dirt. They run a national series, but that's what you're talking about, not just here in Mobile or whatever, but all the local tracks that are in this region.
Or even have, if the SRL comes in, have them have a chant like the CRA has. They run different tracks. They run all over the country. You could do that also. There's ways of doing it, but my point is, don't let the little guy suffer. Let's get the big shows together, because they bring a crowd. But when you do that, you say, oh, this Saturday night at Pensacola, Florida, we got the late models, but also we got the doc on the Pensacola Beach Sportsman. They're going to be running a special 35-lap feature. Come watch them beat and bang and da-da-da-da-da. Remember how Dave Pavlock used to say the lovable, bendable bombers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we have none of that anymore. Oh, on the car, the late model, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and also the street stocks, first stocks, blah, blah, blah. We're pushed off to the side. That's BS. Start giving us some. You want car count? You got to give us some love.
Yeah.
I know cars that are sitting at home because, I don't like this, we don't like that rule. Talk to him. Why aren't you calling that guy? Hey, man, why don't you bring your car and race? Give him a set of tires. Buy him some fuel. Give him some free pit passes. Do something to give that man incentive.
There used to be something called tow money.
Yeah, they don't do that no more.
That brings the out-of-towners in here. And I know back in, not too long ago, but, I mean, they did a lot of guys come from Mobile to tow over here. I don't know about tow money, but, the car count used to be between 15 and 20 cars in our class.
Yeah, and
now it's 8.
Yeah, but there and again, tow money. When I used to go to Opp and I'd run for John Dykes, I showed up there one night and broke in practice, pushed it on the trailer, and we were fixing to leave, and his daughter walked up and handed me a $50 bill. She goes, Dad told me to give you this. Thanks for coming up. See, shit like that means something. Pardon my French. Stuff like that means stuff. You got to be able to do that. Give a pit pass to a man who's had a bad night. Hey, Jim, man, here's a pit pass for you tonight. You wrecked your car, man. And you own a parts, like the Bryants, they own a parts department. They can't give discount parts to one of their racers or help them. Hey, Jim needs a header. We'll just give it to him. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it.
Yeah.
It'll be made up for by being there every night.
I went to op one time, showed up, I had my card. They didn't take cards. Malia Dykes turned around and said, he's racing, sign him up. Jim will just take it out of your payout.
Right.
I mean, who does that? When you leave op and say it's a rain out, they give you the option of giving your money back. They'll say, hey, you want your money back or do you want a rain check? I need my money back. Okay, and they'll stand there at the pit gate and go, there's your money, thanks. I mean, you got to be able to do that. And I'm not saying Tim's a bad promoter, but he doesn't promote us anymore. All he worries about is the big shows. I know he's got to worry about money, but if he'd promote the little guy, I think you'll have better racing, and I think the little guys will show up more if you feel appreciated.
I mean, maybe if he had somebody out there that went to knock on the doors, the canvas for the money. Right. And not really have him send somebody out there to knock on these doors and say, are you interested? Are you interested? Are you interested? And knock on these doors and say, yeah, we've got $100,000 for the season for the sportsman class. Okay, done. Like all the sponsors do, but I don't know that they put that kind of money up.
Ain't that kind of money.
Well, I'm saying,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, if you put up that kind of money and you have a sponsor to do 12 races, and you're paying $5,000 to $8,000 for a sportsman win. I'm telling you, you say you build it, they will come. But if you're putting up the money, back in the day, it was $400 to win.
$300 to win when I started.
Yeah.
That ain't much.
And it cost you that much just to get in and get through the night, just to win that.
Yeah.
Now you finish 8th or 9th and feel good about yourself. You load up in one piece, you go get a check for $35.
It should pay back better. And here's the other thing, though, and I've seen this. I've talked to people. Pull into a gas station with your race car behind you. Oh, where do you race? Five Flags. I didn't even know that was still open. Where's the advertisement?
Yeah,
you're making millions at the Snowball Derby. Spend the money.
Yeah.
Advertise and send little guys like me to meet. We're having a baseball game down in Pensacola tonight. Okay, we're going to send Jim down to sit around, sign hero cards, and talk about racing.
Put the car out in the parking lot.
Exactly right. Put a table, sign autographs, talk to people. You got to get it out there, and there's no promotion for us local guys, so there's nobody interested in sponsoring us. This just, like I said, one short track guy's opinion, take it or leave it. I'm just trying to make things better for the little guy, because the little guys do more support. They bring more people. The late models don't bring people. Little guys have families and stuff that come to the races.
Well, hopefully, that will change in not too far ahead of us. But we do have a couple of other points to catch on before we sign off. March 5th, the Alabama 200, and I think Ted's got a lineup for a big pro late model race at Montgomery Motor Speedway in the hunt for the bear.
Of all things, you're gonna get a bear. Okay.
Yep.
Well, let's see who's in the hunt for the bear. Why don't we do that? Got quite a list, and there's a few names we haven't heard too much about, but a whole lot of them that we have. Start off with JoJo Wilkinson, Matt Craig, Cody Hall, Jackson Bishop. That's Jackson with an X for those of you that are keeping score at home. Chris Davidson, we've spoken about him before. John Bolin, very local driver up in Montgomery. Bryson Schaefer. This one should be fun. Gio Ruggiero. I hope I nailed that.
I think you did that last Wednesday, and I think you did nail it twice in a row now, sir.
Good job. Gage Rogers, Chase Johnson, Brittany Zamora, Cole Williams, Hunter Robbins, also very local in Montgomery, Evan Shotko, Stephen Chun, Jeff Dawkins, Jake Garcia, somebody we've been talking about quite a bit, know a little bit about, John DeAngelis, Landon Devon, Grant Thompson from Mobile, Christopher Tullis, Dustin Smith, also from the Mobile area, Jim Wall, a Modifieds of Mayhem driver,
right,
and Justin Bonnet.
Right.
So, excellent stacked field.
Oh, yeah. That's the Alabama 200 at Montgomery Motor Speedway, March 5th. And like I said, this short track racing, that is a quick turnaround. And we've already, hammered off a couple of them in a row.
Right.
And there's a couple of them right around within this weekend and next weekend. And then we're right back in the Five Flag Speedway season. And it's nonstop for us.
It doesn't take long.
No, it doesn't. The short track guys, we don't take a break either. I don't think we've had maybe a week or two off, and we're right back at it again. It's trying to keep up with everything else around us.
Amen to that. Yeah, goodness gracious.
And we just really kind of accumulate this 37th episode, we want to give a real big shout out to all the support and all of our listeners. The most recent, Sharon Mosley from Defuniak Springs. Thank you so much for listening. It means a lot. It means the world to us.
Thank you. Thank you.
All your support is our motivation. That's why we do this, to put it out there. We just want to not forget our listeners, because that's really what keeps us going. And we just want to appreciate everybody and keep listening and keep throwing the comments and helping us grow. And, we've got a Did You Know segment coming up. We've got a little bit of information coming, some things that go out there that race fans aren't really familiar with sometimes.
Yeah. Everybody knows the normal flags. You got the green flag, which means go. Yellow means slow down. There's caution on the speedway. Red means stop where you're at. And some people don't get that because they'll just keep going. And then you have these two flags that a lot of people have hardly ever seen or even noticed during the race because they're too busy watching the action. And the first one is the blue flag with a yellow stripe. That lets drivers know that the leaders are coming up on them. You're fixing to get lapped. In other words, hold your position. Don't do anything silly. The leaders are coming. You're going to get lapped. And I've had people run me up the racetrack with that one, so they don't pay attention to it either. But I tell drivers, when you're on the racetrack for the first time, look at the flag stand. When you go on that racetrack, the first thing I want you to come off turn 4, the first time I want you to look at that flagman, keep your eye on him. Notice where all the traffic signal lights most racetracks have that tell you red, yellow, green. So when something happens, there's lots of times my spotter don't even see it, and I'm already lifting because the caution's out. And he's too busy watching me and not seeing what's going on. So, pay attention to that, and especially that move over flag, because if you're a rookie, you're going to see it quite a bit. I've seen it. I've seen that flag a lot back in my old Superstock days. And of course,
it ignored a lot too.
Yeah, it gets ignored. Yeah, I've been wrecked by people that just are sound asleep, not paying attention. And the other thing is the black flag, which most of us race car drivers do not want to see. That means
dreaded black hanky.
Yeah, it means get off the racetrack. We need to talk to you. You did something silly, or you wrecked somebody, or we feel that your car's got a problem, like your car's smoking because you got an oil leak.
Dropping fluid somewhere.
You're dropping fluid. You got a tire rub. It could be something dangerous for the people around you, so they black flag you. So when you see the black flag, that means if you're shown the black flag and your number comes up on that board, get off of the racetrack.
Right. They will stop scoring you after, I think it's 3 laps, but I could.
Well, NASCAR, they give you a white. They actually have a black flag with a white stripe, which tells you that you got 3 laps and they're going to quit scoring you. Anyway, I think that's pretty cool. That's a flag that the people don't normally see or pay attention to. Right. Like I said, and we know what the white flag means, last lap, and of course, checkered flag means you won or the race is over, depending on where you are in the field.
Yeah. And the halfway mark, you'll see the flag stand or the flagman come out with 2 flags, and he makes an X with the flags, and that designates the halfway mark. If it's 100 laps, he'll put it out at 50. So that's just a halfway sign. Sometimes they'll have a flag with the X in it, but most of the time they're using the flags. Usually which one it is, the yellow and something else, whether it's white or green.
Well, usually the flagman has the yellow and the green in his hands. So he'll use those, like to let you know it's coming away. When he gets towards the end of the race, and there's also the halfway mark, and then sometimes the flagman, when there's 5 to go, he'll hold his hand out with 5 fingers and sometimes 10.
Right.
He'll throw it out with his hands in front of him with all 5 fingers extended and spread open as wide as they can to let you know there's 10 laps to go.
That's hard to see.
To go.
That's really hard to see.
You'll never see the flagman.
And they'll put 2 of the flags up for 2 to go, and then the white flag comes out, and then checkered. So those are just some of the things that, you might see on TV. Well, actually, you probably won't see on TV because they're focused on all the action. But if you're at your local short track and you're watching, and some of these flagmen, especially, some of the sprint cars in dirt, these guys get like dramatic with it, and it's almost theatrical, really, because they put on a show. They've got their own personality, and they've got their own wave and their own maneuver.
They're bouncing around.
It's incredible. It's artwork, So my hat's off to all the flag guys out there that keep up with it. Now they've got communication up in the stands with or in the box, with the race director and everything about when to do this, when to do that, but. I think the flagman pretty much has a free free call too when he sees something. And
That's what a race director is for. I think the flagman should have that privilege, but a lot of racetracks, that's why he has a headset on. Because the race director says, caution in 4, if he didn't see it. But that's like when drivers start doing stupid stuff, the flagman should black flag them. The tower should have no control over the flagman, just my opinion. I think the flagman ought to be in control of the racetrack.
Well, if you're ever at a short track, if you've been going and didn't know that, then you do now. And if you're just a new listener and you go to a short track this season, then you've learned something, and now you can probably pass that on to people in the stands that you meet. That'll get with us for this week, and we look forward to updating all that stuff coming up this weekend next Wednesday. And guys, as usual, it's glad to have you guys in the studio and talk short track racing. And did you know? And then some things on the side, but
Glad to be here. Glad to be here, and thank you to everybody who helps on my race team. I just want to give Will and Martin and Ben and Ted a shout out. Frank Utsey, thank you for being my spotter. And thank you, Thomas, for doing this. This was your baby, and we're happy to be here and do it. We love it. It's fun. And while I'm thinking about it, let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we will talk to you next Wednesday.
All right.